Investors shifted out of growth stocks and into value stocks Tuesday, driving the Nasdaq lower but propelling the Dow north to a record high. A surge in Treasury yields for a second day drove down tech and growth stocks, including Monday's big winners, Tesla and Apple. DataTrek research co-founder Nick Colas said investors are worried about inflation and rising interest rates.
Yesterday was kind of a first day of the year, first day of the month, first day of the quarter. It's always hard to parse what those money flows really mean. I think we're getting a truer read of what the market's concerned about today, and it clearly is that the 10-year is rising quite quickly.
But those rising Treasury yields pumped up interest rate-sensitive financial stocks. J.P. Morgan Chase rose nearly 4%, American Express up over 3%. Both are among the Dow's top gainers. The blue chip index rose more than 200 points, but the S&P 500 closed nearly flat and the Nasdaq shed 1.33%. Helping mitigate the S&P's drop, Ford's nearly 12% gain. The automaker said it would nearly double annual production capacity for its red-hot F-150 Lightning electric pickup to 150,000 vehicles. Shares of rival GM also rose.
A video briefing on Tuesday by lawyers for relatives of passengers killed when Iran shot down a Ukrainian airliner began with strong words from attorney Mark Arnold.
And if anybody from the Islamic Republic of Iran is on this call, if the supreme leader is on this call, we're coming after your assets.
And quickly turned to chaos as hackers took over the call. The wild images and obscene music lyrics continued until lawyers restarted the call. The briefing followed a Canadian court this week awarding $84 million to the families of 6 people who died when Iranian Revolutionary Guards downed the jet near Tehran 2 years ago. All 176 people on board were killed, including 55 Canadian citizens and 30 permanent residents. The 6 family members awarded compensation by the court had filed a civil lawsuit against Iran and other officials they believe were to blame for the incident. Iran admitted it shot down the airliner shortly after takeoff and blamed a disastrous mistake by forces on high alert during a confrontation with the United States. No one has claimed responsibility for the video call hack. The lawyers sent out a news release to the media with the dial-in details and password for the call. They said they cannot speculate on who was behind the hack.
This Omicron tsunami has changed the game yet again. We need to remain on a war footing to ensure that we can get resources to where they need to be and when they need to be there. And yes, this means that we anticipate our kids having to wear masks in their schools for now in order to protect their health and safety and ensure that they can continue in-person learning. This brings us absolutely no joy. No one wants to see our kids' smiles more than I do. With the exponential surge in our numbers, it would be the height of irresponsibility to lift these basic public health requirements at this time, and we will not let that happen. The sheer numbers of new cases are directly leading to hospitalization figures we have not seen in well over a year. Here again are today's hospitalization numbers compared to 1 year ago today, and on the far right side in red, compared to the worst day of last winter's surge. We have more people in the hospital today than at any point in the past year, and the most since early May of the year 2020.
Неге алып кетіп жатсыздар ол кісілерді?
After the world's top tennis player Novak Djokovic was given a vaccine exemption to play at the Australian Open, the country's authorities pushed back Wednesday to say he did not receive special treatment. The decision set off outrage in Australia, which has experienced multiple lockdowns over the last 2 years. Cases have soared again in the country thanks to the Omicron variant. But officials say Djokovic is not the only one, and that a handful of the 26 applicants who sought exemptions were successful. Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tilley said he wasn't in a position to legally state the reason for Djokovic's particular case, but illustrated some grounds for an exemption.
And to briefly, quickly summarise those, one of them is obviously having an adverse response to any kind of vaccine and having something like an anaphylactic response. Another one is if you've just had major surgery and may or may not be suffering from myocarditis. And another one is you're a recovered case. In other words, you've had evidence of COVID and certified evidence of COVID over the past 6 months.
Tennis Australia said the two-stage application process to grant an exemption was confidential and run by independent experts. More than 90% of those 16 years and up in Australia have had a second vaccine. Melbourne, where the Grand Slam takes place, had the world's longest cumulative lockdown to try and slow the pandemic.